really want to go to with your current crystal and pendant layouts.
Right. When you have access to the entire world, practically from the word go, you tend to wind up orphaning a lot of areas here and there, and it can be hard to keep track of them all sometimes.
Alright, looks like Hacksaww is going straight to the island right now. Nope. Checking it out first. Get a pretty fast Sahasrahla check for looks like both runners.
Yeah, and I think they're both doing the same opening where you check what's on the island and then go for Sahasrahla from there while killing a few enemies on the way to set up a later tree pull. Similar to the opening Uncle Gambit.
Yep, and then this is definitely one of those modes where if you don't make these early standard glitchless openings, it really bites you. It can bite you pretty bad.
Yeah, I think in the first couple of races in the tournament, we had racers checking Sahasrahla at an hour in or so, rather than this 1 minute check that we've seen out of both runners here. But we do get a bottle, which does facilitate going through Kakariko, meaning we don't need to return later to check the sick kid. Although with a lack of bombs and a lack of money, it's going to be kind of difficult to reach everything in Kakariko on one go. And I think that's kind of why you like doing the early Death Mountain play, because you like downward teleporting to the Graveyard Cave, so you can stock up on some early bombs.
Ooh, and some nice early money from the crab. Yeah, but then there's also that free bomb that's it's kind of fast for your first pass, but then trying to refill on it constantly is a bit tedious. So they'll always be able to have access to at least one bomb, and they'll have easy money to buy bombs.
We see a green rupee on the Lumberjack ledge, which means we are not killing Aghanim today. There is absolutely no reason for us to go and get that green rupee. Furaime is stocking up a bit more on money off of the bush crabs, opting to go for probably one more complement of them from the crab in Lost Woods here, or just dashing right by.
There's our free bomb off to the side. Let's see how many times Hacksaww goes for it.
I personally like 3, but just getting 1 is perfectly fine too.
Yes, like there's a lot of 3 bomb packs in the prize pool, so chances are fairly high they'll find bombs in here. Not guaranteed, of course, but it's always fun.
That and the bombs lock only singular items here in Kakariko, so you basically are trading 1 bomb for 1 chest, rather than 1 bomb for multiple chests in other areas. Still, we've got plenty of money, so if we do need to buy bombs, there is the shop down below, which is really easy to get to.
Yep, and
thankfully we have got boots.
Boots make everything easier. This is clearly the superior mode. And then Hacksaww just option to go ahead and buy the bombs right now. That way he doesn't have to take that little gamble to maybe not find bombs in the well.
But Furaime getting that extra bomb from the bush crab and the bonk rocks means that he's just going to go into the well one time here and not have to go buy bombs yet, giving him just a little bit more chance to pick up some bombs from a random chest. Find Quake Medallion in the well, and Cane of Samaria in the chicken hut.
Hopefully we find ourselves a mushroom or powder. They can just go ahead and fully clear this.
We get a glove. That actually makes checking checkerboard quite easy right now. It's going to be within the route that I think our runner is going to take through desert. And if you don't get checkerboard now, or you wind up getting gloves much later, it can be hard to remember that checkerboard still exists. Well, it seems like our runners are pretty much synced up now.
Oh yeah. We'll see if they just go ahead and go straight to race game clip or take a route around the library.
Furaime is going to buy some bombs first. I wonder if Hacksaww is going to go cheat the race game, or is he just going to view it and go to desert immediately? Get a map check. We've got both of the red crystals in the light world. That's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah. Hopefully that doesn't cheat us out of a fun clip, but it's fine.
Hacksaww saw the race game item, wants to go get it, but does not know the way to cheat the item. Let's see if Furaime goes for it. Well, he gets the item, but right now he's kind of stuck. He kicked himself to the right rather than the left, so he's got to save and quit here.
Which is fine. Can't do incredibly much in desert yet, so gives him some time to decide if he wants to what he wants to route that in with later on.
Plus, there's so much more of the world that just opened up, such as the back of Escape, which he's going to right now.
And now we have access to our first red crystal. Well, almost. 50-50 shot.
Right, we don't know if we need a fire source for Hera yet. But we do find the key in the back, which means that these chests were glove-locked. And we find a sword on the desert ledge, giving us access to spin speed.
So right now the only place we can't access in Overworld, in Light World, is Mimic Cave.
And that absolutely requires the mirror.
Hacksaww opting for that early blue mail. In these glitch modes, one of the minor glitches that may be required is Bunny Revival. So if you don't have the Moon Pearl and you have a way into a dungeon, if you go ahead and let Link die, instead of coming back as Bunny, he becomes Link again. And unfortunately, it's like until you get the Moon Pearl, the more hearts and better protection you get, the longer it takes to become Link again.
Especially in a place like Turtle Rock, where if you don't go for the laser wall and opt to fall into the hole over and over and over again, if you can wind up having 10 hearts at that point, it takes quite a while.
Did we see item number 2 yet?
I've been paying more attention to Furaime's side, so I haven't been counting desert items on Hacksaw's.
I'm going with no if he's going for a big chest.
Get a second medallion in Escape, so we're 2 out of 3 there.
Hammer's such a nice early game item to find. You get the same damage as a Temper Sword. Unfortunately, it's like that also comes at the sacrifice of a little bit wonky of a hitbox.
And it's a bit slower when it comes out to hit enemies, so you have to take that into account. It's just a little bit wonky overall. And of course, we always give the advice, never hammer facing upwards. The hitbox is horrible for it. We saw Hacksaww do a bit of a spin speed clip there in order to get through that cliff pretty quickly. That's one of the properties of spin speed. For some reason, it just lets you ignore parts of the collision for the slopes.
Did he skip Checkerboard Cave on us?
I think he did. So I wonder if he's going to forget that for now. No, he still had his sword active, which means he didn't have spin speed. He was trying to use that to go through the little cliff there, but it didn't quite work for him.
Yep, and then most spin speed clips, they can still work. You can still do it the same way that the Hacksaww just did. For the most part, as long as you can keep doing your dash buffers to the right and don't get nudged up any, you can get the exact same effect.
There are a couple of places where it's different, but for the most part, that is correct. Furaime going for some more money off the bush crab. Now he has enough for Zora. So the extra few times that he's gone and farmed off the bush crabs has probably paid off for him. He gets to do this entire loop in one full succession.
Yep, and he's pretty set on rupees for the rest of the seed. Unless he decides he wants to do some fake flutes later on.
Get to see some bee strats in the mini Moldorm cave. From both runners. Get the flippy flops, and the book, and the silvers in the mini Moldorm cave, so it's pretty profitable there. Now, with the sword in hand, Hacksaww has a much easier time dashing through these longer screens, since he doesn't necessarily need to worry about certain enemies. Furaime, though, is having to dodge and weave all over the place because he can't run through them.
Both players setting up, pulling out their bombs. Looks like they're probably going to clip back up to Eastern, probably take a dip in there.
I think that Furaime is actually going to arm a Water Walk and go for a Zora area. And Hacksaww, being 1 rupee off, might just go and gamble it anyway.
Yep, and then a big thing about dash buffering is you have to make sure you're not touching any walls, because you have to be able to actually dash from whatever position you're in.
Interesting that Furaime decided to go for the hobo off of a save and quit to Link's house rather than using any kind of water walk shenanigans. I find that a little interesting. Now, Hacksaww hasn't checked Hobo yet, so we might go for it now. He's trying to spin speed through the wrong corner. You gotta go through the upper one, correct?
I've never spun speed that one.
Looks like he's just gonna go for an upward instead. But it doesn't quite work. Oh, now he's got spin speed, so he's able to hop right through the cliff.
There we go.
Furaime bonking off of some bushes, because he still hasn't gotten that sword off of a desert ledge yet.
Yep, and it'll probably be a while since he's got a lot less item density left in that area.
He may go back once he finds a fire source.
But there's still 3 other swords in the game. He only needs 2 of them, and he's almost guaranteed to. He's guaranteed to find that one with desert being a crystal. Furaime's probably gonna head up to Death Mountain now.
He seems to be a fan of the classic DMA, where you upwards teleport over the screen border here, and have to correct your camo before going into the Old Man Cave.
Yep, and then with Kane and with Boomerang, he has easy dark room navigation in for this mountain as well.
Well, beyond that, you can always use the dash dust, since you start with the boots. Meanwhile, Hacksaww is going through the dark part of Escape to get to the one chest in the Dark Cross area.
This is always a fun chest to find in the dark.
Supposedly it's very easy if you bonk off of the torch along the bottom wall under that chest. If you bonk off the torch, you can just walk straight up and get the chest.
Oh, nice.
So it's pretty nice in overworld glitches when you're guaranteed to have the boots. Furaime opting to go for Heraclip, which is another one where you jump over the border, but he needs to... I think he...
Didn't get that... He missed the up input.
Yeah, he kicked himself up into the wall rather than downward out of it. So he got a little bit stuck.
And that's one of the things that you just kind of learn. The whole basis for this category is collision detection is pretty wonky. If you're at the right spot, it likes to kick Link like several tiles away. Otherwise, it likes to, when you're wherever you're in your wall, it likes to snap Link like every 4 pixels, 8 pixels.
Right, I think it's every 4 pixels. That's especially true when you're doing things in other modes that allow for even more glitches than what we are allowed to do here.
Alright, so our red crystals are fire locked.
And since we have the book, we're going to go ahead and check what the tablet has over here. Just some arrows.
Could be slightly useful, but don't really want to come back for that, especially if we get those really late bow seeds. But Eastern Independent makes ammo management slightly easier for this run.
It looks like Hacksaww is either trying to jump through the ledge or he's opting to do the downward teleport to Graveyard Cave. I'm not entirely sure which.
He's a little bit low for Graveyard Cave.
Meanwhile, Furaime is doing a Light World T-Rock climb to get to the east side of Death Mountain on the convenient land bridge that just happens to be there. There's no purpose for it, but it just helps us so much.
Yeah, the developer's like, and they'll never see this area. We don't have to fix it. But we proved them wrong. And then what Hacksaw's doing is it's the logic intended way to get to Graveyard Cave. This was the original application that the logic uses as a baseline for the access.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to hop all the way down, so it kind of put him on Hera, but not anywhere near the stairs, so he was completely stuck there. Unfortunately, you can't arm spin speed if you're right up against the wall. You have to be just off of it in order to arm. Otherwise, it basically is asking Link to grab the wall when you've got the A button pressed, rather than going for any kind of dashing.
Option to skip that heart piece as well. Alright, let's see what our Paradox Cave is going to give us today. Did Furaime... Yeah, I think he went to Zora already.
Yeah, he did Zora. Both of our runners have been through that area entirely.
So, no fun Zora clip today, that's okay.
I imagine Furaime is going to save and quit out of here, so there's no real need to kill the mini Moldorms. Although he might go for it anyway.
Depending on what he finds. Like if he finds those mitts right now, so you might as well just hop on over to Darkworld and do Super Bunny Cave. I forgot what was on the island. I think it was a red rupee.
Yeah, I didn't see anything important up there.
Well, you could just hop into here and do Super Bunny Cave this way. And go ahead and see what Medallion Turtle Rock needs. Whether or not they need Turtle Rock Medallion, by logic, it depends on the key layout of the dungeon. There's so many different places keys could be, and if it's unfavorable and you unlock the wrong doors, you have to find that medallion to get into the front.
Although there is one key door you can almost always skip, the one that goes to the Chomp's room. The only way you wouldn't be able to skip it is if Mira winds up being pretty late and locked behind who knows what else. You get a map check in the Dark World. I saw Turtle Rock and Skull Woods as pendants, with Turtle Rock being the green pendant.
So, potentially skip the rot, so that's pretty fun. Probably won't see us a hospital check. Let's see what we have. What's needed. So we need bow, hookshot, mirror, pearl.
Well, arguably pearl. We could go without it if we so choose. But considering it's probably locked somewhere that we can get pretty easily right now, there's no sense not searching for it.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of extra places pearl can be in Overworld glitches compared to glitchless. There's a few minor glitches and one major clip that gives you access as Bunny to different places. But for the most part, Pearl has a lot of the same glitchless requirements.
Speaking of the Pearl, we find it in Super Bunny Cave. So now we have access to a good portion of the Dark World.
Basically, the only thing we can't do is by logic, well, even out of logic, we can't enter Ice Palace, and maybe not on Mire or Swamp.
Furaime is going to try to clip through this little cliff here to go to the catfish area. And this works because for some reason when you land on the transition in a weird way there where only Link's head is showing, when you transition downward it just kind of moves you all the way halfway across the tile. It's very weird.
Oh, did I miss the fire rod? So Hacksaww just immediately opting to go ahead and get his first crystal out of the way while he's still here.
And Furaime is following suit. So with the equipment loadout that our runners have right now, would you dip into Ganon's tower at this point? Clear out the majority of the basement that you can? Get an intentional death warp to go back to the start of the dungeon, so you not have to backtrack through the several rooms it takes. So now we head upstairs in Hera.
Alright, one item left in Hera. We saw that heart piece in the basement that both runners opted to not grab at this time. Then after this they have limitless options.
There's our second item, just another heart piece.
For Ganon's Tower, there's by logic you have access to, let's see, 2, 3. All of right side is accessible. And just the 2 left side, or the bomb item on left side. Logic still does not require any bomb jumps or hovering or anything like that.
Despite hovering being a minor glitch, it is not required in the mode. But, even without hovering, we do have the capability of checking a bunch of the left side of GT by use of bomb jumps. So we need Hacksaww to realize he can go to Super Bunny Cave. Not entirely sure. It looks like he wants to go to Graveyard first, but is having a hard time getting that lineup for the downward teleport.
Yeah, and then for most of the boost clips, you have a fairly standard visual cue that you can use. That's easy to recognize. That particular clip is one of the few exceptions. You look like you're a lot further into the wall than you would look like in other walls.
We get an early Spike Cave check out of Furaime.
And number one theme of Overworld glitches and a lot of the glitch modes is saving Quatu Mountain, go to Hera.
Hera to reset your camera, and then you go into the Dark World. Although there are a couple of exceptions, such as when you can go into Ganon's Tower without correcting your camera. Getting to the Fat Fairy with the mirror requires not correcting the camera. And there's a few other things as well.
And what we mean by correcting the camera, so whenever the player, they hop off the bottom part of a screen, or they teleport past the edge of a screen, The game doesn't load a new screen for you. You still keep the same collision detection, everything like that. But if they were to open a map, you would see Link is lower than he looks like. For purposes of where your mirror is and wherever you can touch screen transitions, it uses this global position. And then with your movements, like if you touch a screen transition while in this wrap state, you can sometimes get yourself into a scroll lock on accident.
And that requires a reset to get out of with no chance to save beforehand, which would lose you quite a bit of progress depending on what you had done beforehand.
Hacksaww can hop into Eastern. It's a pendant dungeon, so, and pretty fast to check the chest that you have available.
Did I just see the big key and tile room? Or no, that was Mitts. It was some big yellow thing.
And just like that, he has almost the entire game accessible, as far as entrances are concerned.
The only exception being Swamp Palace, I believe. And Meyer, because he still needs a sword to use the medallion.
And possibly Bombos.
Now, Mitts actually don't lock very many items in this particular mode. The only things it locks are Ice Palace and the Smithy sequence. Everything else doesn't really need the Mitts.
Pointy part of the logic. I mean, it still includes Mitts in a way. I mean, it's still gonna say, well, you can still do this NMG, so might as well. But as far as strictly required, according to logic, not really.
With Fire Rod, Hammer, and at least the Mitts, we actually have access to fully complete Ice Palace at this point. So who knows if there's something in there that we may need.
Definitely a crystal. And hey, lamp. No more dark room. There's our second sword.
Yep. I'm surprised that Furaime decided to death warp before grabbing the key in the next room.
Yeah.
But with a few bombs in hand, I think we're going to see some bomb jumps to access the Stalfos room and then get past the Fire Snake room.
So far, I haven't seen anything too worthwhile in Eastern.
Looks like there's still an item on Armos.
Yep, and something to note on Furaime's side. So whenever you die, if you enter a Dark World dungeon and you die in it, and you haven't killed Agnum, it puts you into Light World effectively, but you still have Dark World graphics. Inside dungeons, if you're in fake Light World, you're going to see pots instead of the skulls. And if he manages to find the bow and can make his way up to Agnum 2, we'll actually be fighting Agnum 1.
Right, because which Agnum you fight is actually dependent on which world the game thinks Link is in. So, because he did die in the dungeon, again, the game does think he's in the Light World, hence why you see the pots. And we'd like to call this fake Dark World. There is a way to get fake Light World in a few ways, one of those being the calling the flute in the Dark World, which is done through an out-of-logic glitch called Yuzuharu's Bottle Adventure with a blue potion.
There we go, and Hacksaww has remembered Checkerboard Cave. He might have forgotten that he has access to the Turtle Rock portal.
He may have, because all you need to get to that portal is the hammer and, well, the boots, but we start with those anyway.
1 pixel too far in, or not quite far enough in. He actually wants to downward teleport to make it on top of the mountain again.
There he goes, he gets it. So now we're probably going to see him go into the back of the desert and kill Landmolas. And have the second red crystal out of the way. And we have another sword in Ganon's tower, so very likely when Hacksaww decides to go and clear that dungeon, he'll be up at Tempered, if not Gold.
And we're going to see some synchronized boss battles. And there's our big key.
We get a laggy Birna fight of Armos. It's pretty effective, especially considering that he has half magic. And we get a nice quick kill of Landmolas here with Fire Rod, just 2 shots for each.
Yep, and then Armors has some wonky calculations linked to each sword. Master Sword actually does half damage of Fighter Sword on this fight.
And Fighter Sword does just as much damage as Tempered Sword. It's very weird.
Yeah, so weapons they don't really have a strength when in terms of progression. They just said, here's your item, here's your damage value.
And it's hard-coded for each enemy that Link faces. So now Hacksaww is going into the front of Escape. He's starting to run out of locations in the light world that he can check, and without the mirror, there's not a whole lot he can do in the dark world. The only thing he could do is actually the Super Bunny Cave.
Yep, will be the only thing left in logic for him. He's done all the desert stuff area. He still doesn't have access to Aka 1, according to logic.
We find the hook shot in Hype Cave.
Oh, nice. Just a couple more items away from Go mode.
Just Bow, Mirror, and possibly Bombos.
Furaime going in for that quick pyramid check. I didn't see what potion he got from the waterfall fairy when he tossed his bottle in, or if he got a potion at all.
He may have gotten a red potion, because he did have to use one in Ganon's tower when going across the fire snake room.
Alright, Hacksaww is now out of options according to logic other than make his way to that Super Bunny portal, or that Turtle Rock portal, so he can do Super Bunny Cave. Well, no, he still has access to Graveyard, because he's been trying to get that one for a while.
It's a very difficult clip with the boulders harassing you, plus the different visual cue.
Yep, and then this clip is a lot easier if you don't have a sword. There's a spin speed method that Hacksaww may not know about.
looks like Furaime is going to check Checkerboard Cave and go into deserts. Meanwhile, Hacksaww might be going and looking something up, which is perfectly allowed. There's honestly so many different ways you can move about in the world that having some set of tutorials handy is certainly not a bad idea.
Yep, and then with so many different options that you have available in this mode, you can overlook a lot of the simpler solutions. Either for reasons of just wanting to do something with more swag or something like that, or something that's simple but not needed very often.
Or railroading yourself into thinking that you need to do glitches when in fact it's actually easier just to do it the normal way. I think Hacksaww thinks this is his only option for where the Moon Pearl can be. Oh, he was 1 pixel off. He needed to go 1 deeper than where he was.
You need to be like, I think 3 pixels deeper than you think you should be for this particular clip. And boulders are just not playing nice at all. It's incredibly tricky, and then you can find the position, then when you release that sword that your spin, those boulders still knock you out of that position. It's pretty brutal with a sword.
Then most of the time we kind of train ourselves to do these clips while holding the sword up so that we can see the entirety of Link's shadow, but perhaps holding the sword down would be a little bit better for this clip. There he goes, he finally gets it. Alright.
For that particular one, it's a lot easier to use your feet as the visual cue on that one if you're using a sprite with fairly standard feet placement. And the game not treating him nicely, just giving him a heart piece for that.
So now he has to think hard of what else he could do in logic.
Yeah, because, let's see, he's not going to find mitts if by sequence breaking with a YBA. So there's not a whole lot that we're doing some kind of sequence break is going to throw him off too bad, because he's still not going to find that Moon Pearl. Unless he makes his way over to Dark Death Mountain. Okay, so will Furaime decide to hop into Thieves, or would he go ahead and cash in that Super Bomb and then hop into a pod from there?
Super Bomb is not a bad option, but pod could possibly be locked by the bow, depending on what is in the first chest there. It's a little risky going all the way out there only to be somewhat locked, although he could mitigate that by having a potion and doing the minor glitch that way. We get our first check at the Bombos tablet.
For a nice little era upgrade that we can't use yet.
And the last thing in the desert area is Agina's Cave. which we have already seen out of Hacksaww.
Let's see, Hacksaw's thinking he's forgotten something down here.
He's probably checking the Bombos tablet, thinking there might be a sword out there.
He's...
Looks like Furaime is heading into the mire area to at least check which medallion he needs for it, and likely, if he has the correct medallion, is going to go right for the dungeon boss, since he has all he needs to complete the dungeon.
Okay, and then Hacksaw's thinking King's Tomb is in logic right now with his equipment.
It actually isn't, even though there is a way to get there using just the boots.
Yep, and then that was found a little bit after the last time logic was revisited for this category, for this mode. It requires you to get pixel perfect positioning, and then do a dash off it, and then when you do a dash at the right spot, or you can fall in the right spot, the collision detection lets you just infinitely run in place, which you can just break out of past the rocks. Nice Mire 2 from Furaime. And with Temper Sword in hand for Furaime, he's going to have a nice victorious fight. Haven't seen anything important yet. Yeah, looks like Hacksaww has forgotten about, or just didn't think about the Turtle Rock entrance, so he very well thinks that this is his only option. I mean, there could still be a very good item in here. Let's see, Furaime has not checked Graveyard Ledge yet, but he might try that later on. But it could very well be one of the very last places that he'll check if it's like bow or mirror in there.
Probably the worst thing that he could find in King's Tomb would be the mirror, since that would opt him to try to go through parts of the Dark World before thinking of anything else.
Oh yeah.
Although with the mirror, he might think to go over to East Death Mountain with it, and then find out that the Moon Pearl was in Super Bunny Cave. Looks like we're going to see an attempt at a spooky glitch from Furaime here. And he does need to do a fire rod dash at a specific point, but after a couple of tries, he's going to let it go and just do it the normal way.
If that was found just a few months ago, towards the middle of the NMG tournament that recently completed.
Ooh, getting a little bit dicey there. But thankfully he's got a bunch of invulnerability thanks to the Cane of Birna, so shouldn't have any problem with Vitreous from here on out.
From here, we'll probably see him hop on over to... Probably see him go up to Village of Outcast next. Clip on over to check Stump Kid.
And then continue over through the digging game, possibly picking up the smithy along the way. Although I doubt he would, considering he'd have to drop the guy off before going into the dungeon.
So, interesting thing about digging game, if you enter the screen from the top border, he doesn't let you pay him to dig.
And even if you enter from the proper entrance, but you clip into the digging area, you can't talk to him from behind. Looks like Hacksaww has found the right path. He's trying to get the dead rocks out of the way.
Alright, now we've got some progress on his side. Let's see what path he decides to take immediately after this.
Let's see, Furaime opted to go for Hype Cave and then a GT check.
Just some more fun in Bumble Hut.
Now we actually have a large portion of the game to look for these last couple of items at this point, so we may be searching for quite a while.
And they can easily lock each other. The one thing that we do know is Bow can't be on pedestal.
And it can't be on Helmasaur.
Can't be an upper GT.
And it can't be on Armos. And as far as the mirror, at this point it's pretty much just Mimic Cave and
Swamp Palace.
Swamp Palace, yeah.
Yep, in Overworld glitches, Swamp Palace easily has the most requirements that are specific to adjust itself.
And it's the exact same requirements as your regular no glitches seeds. Hacksaww going for some hovers.
Yeah, I don't think we saw Furaime come back up here. There's that four sword.
Get to see hover number 2. Oh. Aww.
And these particular hovers are slightly easier than some of the other hovers where you have to go down or right. A lot movement mechanics for Link. Every first pixel move it towards the left or up will move Link over 2 pixels. And every first frame going right or down is 1 pixel. Then from there it alternates from 1 and 2 pixels.
And he gets to clear out the entirety of Hookshot Cave in just a couple of hovers. Nicely done.
Very nicely done. And looks... Ooh, just want to stretch it to a rock.
Sadly, dash buffering that ledge doesn't work for hopping into the ledge.
Yeah. This one absolutely requires a spin speed for that method.
I think there's a way you can hop to that ledge from the upper ledge where the land bridge kind of connects the 2 halves of the mountain, but it's a very precise jump from what I remember.
Yeah. I think I found that pixel once. There's also a bunch of random pixels that if you hop onto it, it just teleports you once you land.
It actually puts you at the very bottom of the mountain, just kind of skips moving Link all the way across the screen for the long jump. It's kind of weird.
Not a whole lot on needed items in Thieves Town. With Overworld glitches, you take away Cape's one primary use.
And since we already have the Cane of Birna, we've got the invincibility on lockdown. So the Cape is pretty much a useless item for us entirely.
I think Hacksaww forgot he has Pearl?
Or it could just be depth warping to refill his hearts here. A little bit off script, but still completes it just fine for the blind fight.
Just like that, crystal number 4. If Hacksaww opts to just go ahead and skip opening this key door by the pokey, he's guaranteed to be... He has access to the front entrance anyways, but... He can save himself from having to find a key, but he still needs some items.
Here we see a bumper cave check before dipping into Skull Woods, or just skipping it entirely because it's a pendant.
Chomp's not cooperating really well. And he'll probably take a death warp and check out that big chest. Possibly check out the rest of the dungeon items.
Now, Lamp is in GT, so he does need to do the maze in the dark. Granted, it's probably one of the easiest dark rooms in the entire game.
Just hold down for a little bit, walk a little bit, and hold the correct directions and change whenever you see like shift.
Really helps when the fire bars are there to kind of help you figure out where you are along the path. Looks like Furaime is going into Ice Palace now.
Might as well, it's another crystal dungeon that you can fully access.
Now, once this dungeon is done, Furaime probably has to really think about where to go next.
Yeah, because he has a green pendant that he can fully clear, other than Mimic Cave. As of right now.
Hacksaww opting to go for the safety door on the laser bridge. Furaime having a little bit of trouble with the ice physics in opening the chest.
Yeah, but then Hacksaw's probably probably going to play against what should be considered standard decision, given where he just found that moon pearl not too long ago. So he's trying to make these really big plays that Furaime might put off for a while.
And he seems to be going for a more standard fare of checks, opting for what looks to be Hype Cave.
Furaime opting to go the intended way through Ice Palace.
You know, outside of the bomb jump past the pegs.
Yeah, outside that button. Not to the fall. Because once he checks these items, he'll just loop him back around to where he dropped down earlier. But he's basically guaranteed to have that big key by the time he gets to that chest.
Only exception is if it winds up being in the iced tea room. So without the mitts, Hacksaww is opting to do a couple of clips to go from the digging game up to Village of Outcasts. Oh, that's a weird jump.
Huh. There's a jump like that right there.
I didn't either.
Yeah, so... these little ledge hop clips, they look a little bit different than the other one, but what the game is doing is, like, it's it knows where Link is supposed to be after the teleport. If there's a ledge there, and then ledges have a lot of interesting mechanics just depending on very specific pixel positions.
Such as for the upward teleports, once you're on the right position, one of the weird things the game does is that it just moves Link up 100 pixels. Like, it's exactly 100, it's very weird. And downward, for some reason, is less than that. And then sometimes the teleports take into account where Link is going to wind up, and other times it doesn't. It kind of depends on if there's going to be a ledge in the way or not. But sometimes it's hard to predict that.
Solid tiles the game doesn't really care for. It's just those pesky ledges. And nothing out of Ice Palace so far.
Mostly just heart containers and other junk.
Well, that spin just missed that last puff by a little bit. But still another crystal down. Now let's see if Furaime goes for chest density, potentially clear a crystal or potentially clear pod, or just goes for the faster checks.
Now there's still the Pyramid Fairy to go for. We did get those 2 crystals pretty early on.
Yeah, almost immediate access. He's done everything he can in GT without that bow. Looks like he's heading over to T-Rock.
Did he? He already did the catfish, correct? Yeah.
He did catfish. He didn't do. I don't think he hovered to those chest and hookshot cave. I think that was just Hacksaww that did that.
Yeah, Furaime is not known for hovering, and may have just put off these chests until he got the hook shot.
Yep, and then it also puts him right next to Pendant T-Rock, which he can full clear, exception being Mimic Cave. We did not see Hacksaww do the front part of T-Rock though.
Right, because he was locked by not having a key after the Chomps room when heading back.
Yeah. He didn't have a convenient path to the front. He'd have to and then he didn't have a mirror to do anything with. So the one thing about clipping to that middle entrance of Turtle Rock is you don't have a way to hop back down and get it back around if you want to.
The only way that's possible is if you have the mirror, and since we're still searching for that, we're a bit stuck when we decide to go for the middle entrance of Turtle Rock. There's the 3rd crystal for Hacksaww.
Almost to the same point. Well, he needs the exact same items to beat the seed now as Furaime. Just a few crystals behind. If he opts to hop into Skull Woods and finds, say, our 2 missing items, he's just a few dungeon killers behind and can skip a lot of the checks within those dungeons that Furaime did.
Although it would be good if he dips into Ganon's Tower to pick up those couple of sword upgrades that Furaime found.
And I think he would find them naturally as well. Because I remember, see, what Big Key was in Bob Chest.
Right.
And I think there was a sword on each side.
I know there was at least a sword on the right side, and I think on the left side it was in Rando Room. So yeah, there's one on each side. So at the very least, he'll have Tempered.
And since he needs bow, he'll have silvers anyways. So he's not gonna really save any time as long as he can get the 1 cycles on gain in phase 2. Well, phase 1 and 2.
Now, one thing Hacksaww has done that Furaime has not was dip Eastern Palace, I believe. So that could be somewhere where Furaime decides to check if the bow is not found sometime soon. I do wonder if Furaime is going to go for the Skullwoods map wrap, because that would be a decent way to get over to that world, or that area of the world, but it's rather risky.
Yep, and then the biggest thing he would lose that would be of value is if Trinex dropped something, or particularly that green pendant. Yep, only thing that can be on pedestal that's useful would be mirror.
Hacksaww is going to have a little bit of a tougher time at the tail end of Meyer here, because he has not picked up the lamp that we found in Gannett's tower. So he would have to do all those rooms in the dark if he plans to complete the dungeon on this trip. I am going to be very interested to see what Furaime does after this Trinix kill. Opting to go for the backdoor strats. Very nice with the gold sword. Can go with a 0 cycle. Misses it just a little bit. I think the Greyhead is going to have some time to lunge out at him. decides to save the progress of the dungeon being completed, and is likely going to go and turn in the pendant right away.
Solid plan. This first dark room in my can be a bit tricky.
Looks like he's going for a potion, just in case Pod happens to be bow-locked. And outside of the required items for the dungeon in Palace of Darkness, such as just keys, the only thing he could find on the bow-locked side of Pod would be the mirror that he is looking for.
Yep, and if he decides to break the screen and get past the mimics on the right side, and finds the mirror, he can just go mode Swamp Palace as long as he remembers he sequence broke to get it. Looks like he's going for Super Bomb first. Hacksaww looks like he's going to try to get into that front part of T-Rock. Or possibly show off that clip to Catfish again and then the clip to Pod.
Furaime getting the double buy of the bombs in the bomb shop. Uh-oh. Did he lose his bomb? He lost his bomb. He's got to go and buy the super bomb again. I thought I saw it on screen there for a little bit, but it just decided to disappear on him.
Yep, and then there's a little minor glitch that, as long as you transition on the exact right frame for the bomb, you can dash, and then right before it explodes, you can get it back in the next string. Okay, let's see what Pyramid Player gives us. Red Rupee and a heart piece. He might be going to... Where's he going?
Probably Palace of Darkness in Eastern. Or not? I thought he already did Majority of Escape. Maybe he's going for the Dark Chest in there, because I think he got the back and the front, but not the one in the middle.
Yep, so his play... So it has to be either... His remaining plays are... He's got 2 items in Skull Wars to check. A few items in Palace of Darkness. I don't think he ever came back and did the Dwarf yet.
Right, neither of our runners have gone for the Smithy sequence yet.
And there's also Batcave in play now.
Right. It looks like that Furaime is going for the smithy sequence right now. Is going to have to save and quit to bring the dwarf back to the light world since he lacks the mirror. Meanwhile, Hacksaww is going for Ganon's tower, it seems.
Would it be faster to save and quit and come back, or hop into Thieves and die?
Probably hop into Thieves and die, actually. Maybe not so with the red mail, because you'd have to hug a fire snake a lot. Yeah. But if you had a lesser mail, it might actually be faster to abuse the fake worlds like that.
I was going to find his sword and lantern fairly soon. And those mitts.
Which will likely prompt him to go for Ice Palace after he's done with Ganon's tower here. Just some bombsmiths.
Oh, we have not seen that dig spot, have we?
Furaime actually did check it earlier. I believe it was a heart piece.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So at this point, we're out of side quest. Well, there's still the mushroom out there somewhere. But that's the only other side quest we have.
Probably gonna head on down to, nope, going to go ahead and scroll out on Skull first. And then if he still leads to nothing, he'll hop on over to grab that purple chest for saving and quitting.
And that's one that's definitely faster to do the save and quit because you're not able to dash very easily with the purple chest following you.
Oh yeah. And another big key.
And there's our bow.
Guaranteed go mode of Swamp Palace.
You know, I think this is the latest mirror I've ever seen for one of these tournament seeds.
I think my second race had a late mirror. I think it was an early access, but still a late grab. Okay, there's our other chest. We're definitely going to see that pod play now.
Certainly a good option since you need to clear a decent part of the dungeon just to get the big key anyway, most times.
Or GT, finish that off, and so it finishes that off right next to pod. And with late bossies, it's a pretty good play to go ahead and finish off GT first, since there's a lot less opportunity to be able to refill your arrows in GT, whereas Eastern Palace and Pod have a lot of pods that have arrows inside them.
Yeah, not too many of the other dungeons have a decent number of arrow pods. I think Swamp has a few and Desert has a couple, but they're not as in the way as they are in Eastern and Palace of Darkness. See Hacksaww trying to use sword beams to take down the ice armos. It's certainly a decent strategy. So Hacksaww has cleared the left side. I wonder if he's going to go for the right side after opening the big chest here. He hasn't save and quit out yet, so it looks like he's going for it.
Probably going to check Tower Room first.
Right, because the only way back to the entrance of the dungeon would be to Death Warp, which could be slow.
Just a touch. Meanwhile, Furaime is making quick work out of the gauntlet. Armed with silver arrows, one shot on land molas.
Or just going for a couple of butter slashes. But gets the knights one cycle with the arrows anyway. Alright, so now Hacksaww is fully decked out from GT at this point. There's just a couple of chests left that Furaime has in front of him here. Looks like that Hacksaww is going into the Dark World here. Might be going for either the Super Bomb or thinking he can go to Ice Palace that way.
Alright, so our progression... Well, we still have... Let's see, Armos. But likely Pod. For Mushroom or Mirror.
And then still the purple chest, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like Hacksaww is opting to go to Mire instead. I don't think the downward teleport works on that slope. He needs to go onto the little one that's a little more to the left.
Yeah, so where this places Link is on that little edge, like right where you see the different changing in colors along the edge.
Ooh, hopping into there is not the way you do that. You get stuck right in the wall there.
Or if you hop at the right spot, you can wrap around the screen.
I don't think you can do anything useful from wrapping the screen down there. I think you need to be up on Desert Ledge for that to be useful.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, though.
But nonetheless, you can probably wrap it there. Okay, Furaime is going. Just often go straight to purple chest. Use that quick little shortcut right here.
He wasn't quite low enough when he did that transition, I think. And it's just kind of knocking him in and out until he can hold the correct set of inputs. Oh, wow, he's really in the trees there. Okay, there he goes.
I haven't seen that one. Seen the game push somebody back there yet.
Especially while still in the water. Usually the game kicks you out immediately when you're over land while swimming on the overworld.
And we've got some more bombs.
So now we're down to pretty much just pod for where the mirror could be.
Pod or pedestal? Possibly, almost.
The lack of mirror is really taking a toll on our runners and having to manage which world they're in very carefully. Looks like Hacksaww is opting to try to hover the Ice Palace bomb jump here. So, was pod bow locked all along?
At least Elmer was.
Nope. They could have been checking a lot of this stuff much earlier. So if the mirror was here, certainly would have been advantageous to dip pod earlier.
Just a few more chests on this back half.
I think he's going to leave Dark Maze for later when he's got the big key. He's just kind of making this loop around, and he's going to hit the vanilla big key chest, then hop down and do right side.
And I think we've seen the map already, so we'll definitely want to come back and check out the big chest anyway, as well as grab the stuff in the maze.
There's the compass. So we do have a lot of items still left to go.
Yep. There's gonna be one small key on the right side, and then everything else is gonna be items. There's gonna be small key and big key on the right side.
I think Furaime was going to try to do a bow dash there into the room to hit the Mimic as early as possible. At least that's what it looked like to me. I'm not sure if that's really what he was going for.
That's what it is. We stay in that room so there's not a million dashes trying to get back over there.
Or dealing with the orbs in the way.
Yep, since Furaime knows that Big Key is in the maze, he's just opting not to do the hammer jump because he'll just have to go back anyways.
Although if the mirror is not in here, he's either going to have to do a death warp, which it looks like he's setting up for. Either that or backtrack out of the maze entirely, which is rather slow.
Then with that red mail and almost all the hearts. Took a while. There's that mirror. At 136.19, we are in go mode on Furaime side.
So Big Key was in Dark Maze, right before the big chest, right?
Yes.
Gotta love this game. So Hacksaww now done with Ice Palace. Where is he going to go next? He could try going to Skull Woods. I think he's going to go try completing Mire now. Now that he has the lamp, it's going to be easier for him to get through the basement there.
First, he's going to try again to go into King's Kingdom, which he was trying to do before he got his Moon Pearl.
I think he thinks the mirror should be here, but it's not.
Unfortunately.
Nice diagonal boom there to hit this crystal switch. That's actually pretty hard to do.
I think you actually have a 1 pixel window for that one. Very nice turtle room. Actually, hop into that bat cave really fast.
Meanwhile, Furaime is going to fight Helmasaur.
With a lot of hearts and red mail, won't pose much of a threat. 2 slash from the gold sword, and there we go. Then he's going to go ahead and hop on over to Swamp, open 1 chest, and get his final crystal.
Yeah, he has pretty much all the equipment he could ever want. He's got invulnerability, half magic, lots of hearts, red mail, gold sword, silver arrows. There's not much more you could really ask for. Hacksaww opting to go to Skull Woods pretty early here, so he's going to, I guess, do the dungeon backward to front, which is going to cost him a little bit more time than just going front to back in this instance, due to how the item's laid out.
Yep, unfortunately no way to glitch this swamp to be drained when you enter the screen.
At least no way that we know yet.
Yeah, it's always key. There's also quite a few things that have been discovered that were thought to be impossible. Yep, and then Hacksaww, he's not going to find any items in the back because we found both items in the front, in the very first part of Skull. And Furaime has opened his final chest for the game.
Unless he decides to inflate his chest count for one reason or another.
Given where Bill was, He might also be thinking, it's like, well, I've lost this one.
Possibly. But still, 140 at this point, and you've got a relatively short dungeon and then Ganon. It's still a decent time for the seed.
Yeah, still a really good time.
Moth just hanging in the corner, giving Hacksaww some trouble. But takes him down and grabs his red pendant.
Yep, no mirror, so he can't check that pedestal. It's gonna be the only thing he's missing shortly.
Oh, and he's gonna have to walk through this room twice because he doesn't have the mirror. It feels so bad walking through this room when you know you don't have the mirror.
Yep, and red mail and a lot of hearts. It's definitely a lot slower as you try to death warp this one. Alright, just a couple more screens to get to Argus fight on Furaime's side.
I imagine he's going to attempt to go for a 0 cycle. We'll see how successful this attempt goes. Oh, drops it a little bit early, but tries to pick it back up. Fortunately, there's our first cycle of Argus.
But as long as Argus is that last puff is killed before Argus makes that move again, you don't lose that much time.
Right, because once Argus starts spinning the puffs around, it doesn't stop until that whole animation set is done. Or rather, it's on a timer, not an animation set. Good to see another hover out of Hacksaww. And picks up his bow.
And he's gonna go up on over and pick up his art piece. Alright, and since Aghanim 1 has never been killed, we have to take that long journey over to the pyramid, and if anything bad happens on Ganon, you got a little bit of a journey to get back.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird with that, where the respawn mechanics are still the same for everywhere else in Rando, where you still need to have Aghanim 1 dead and have the mirror in order to respawn on the pyramid once you start from the Dark World.
Going toward the first 2 features of just 6 slashes or dashes. Nothing much you can do to speed up these first 2 phases other than making sure you get those hits in.
Now we get a 50-50 chance on each warp to see if Ganon warps or stays in place. We need him to stay in place 4 times to move on to the next phase.
6 warps.
It looks like Hacksaww is going into Palace of Darkness, so he will be picking up his mirror and entering Go mode very shortly. Uh-oh. He did a bit of a screen wrap there that I don't think he wanted.
Yeah.
And Ganon is down.
And Furaime finishes in first with an SRTV official time of 1 hour 45 minutes and 30 seconds. GG to him.
Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Hacksaww is opting to go into Ganon's tower to complete the upstairs portion.
Might as well. It's a little bit closer from a saving point than Pod is. And I'll just put it right back next to Pod again anyways. See if we can get Furaime to hop in for an interview.
He typically doesn't go for interviews, but he is in chat right now, so if you have any questions for him, feel free to ask.
And then we're finishing Agnum. He's gonna have a nice little path to each of his remaining dungeons. We'll see if Hacksaww opts to hover Hold Orm 2 anyways.
Despite the mirror still being at large for him. Gonna go ahead and kill Moldorm and then go for the hover anyway.
If he falls from this hover, he has to kill Moldorm again. So definitely opting just to keep hovering anyway. Oh, there we go.
Nice triple.
Definitely where you want to start that fight.
Double
Nice.
triple.
Double triple. Thought that second started with them too close together. The game takes not too kindly when things happen too close to each other in time. Sometimes you can overwrite damage or replace it with other stuff. I'm definitely going to be heading to Pod after this. Or... oh, that's right, he has not checked the pyramid yet.
And he didn't check Catfish either. He didn't do the clip down like Furaime did much earlier in the seed. Now, this certainly isn't too far out of the way for him if he's going to Pod, because there is a downward teleport he could do in the screen just to his right that would get him right next to where Kiki is. Of course, that kind of requires him knowing that that clip exists.
Yeah, if it's not one required by logic, nor would it be, since it doesn't actually skip anything.
It's just a shortcut. Doesn't look like he knows that one.
Yep, and that's quite the interesting one as well. I think he's gonna try that one he was trying earlier, but hopped off the edge. Nope. Taking a little bit of a break here, that's fine. 173 out of 216 chests were Furaime.
A little bit fewer than his last game, which I think was 191.
You've got to skip basically every chest in Swamp House. Managed to not dip into Eastern. And I think the last thing he hasn't... that wasn't checked was Mushroom.
Also, a few chests in Skull Woods were skipped since the items wound up being fairly early on in the dungeon.
Let's see how Hacksaww opts to clear this dungeon. Big key was in Dark Maze, the lower chest, with Mirror in the big chest itself.
And push comes to shove, he could just get the small key on the right-hand side to go up to Helmasaur.
Opts to do the full right side clear first. This just lets him do everything in one loop around the entire dungeon. He might still do big chest and maze last since he won't have the big key before then. Yep, and then Hacksaww did lose a bit of time from not realizing he could enter Dark World Death Mountain from Turtle Rock entrance with that hammer and boots. Definitely would have felt very behind at that point, since because he did try to get into Graveyard Ledge for quite a few minutes, and then once he did get it, he tried to make a few gambles, which just didn't happen to pay off, unfortunately.
Yeah, Turtle Rock was the main thing that he tried to do earlier than Furaime. And if that had paid off, this race would have been a decent amount closer.
Opting to skip that chest, knowing his key counts at that chest down there below the turtles would have been a small key. Logic will not allow any small keys in the dark maze. And at 1 hour 32 seconds, Hacksaww is in go mode. Just a few more crystals to grab. And does not have to be searching for any more keys or items. He's already got his big key for Meyer.
The only other chest he's really looking to open is the first one in Swamp, which has to be the small key. Just a few hammer hits and a couple slashes, and you'll have crystal number 5. Short little trip to get to probably Saving Quit, and then hop on down to Swamp. Yeah, that seems like the fastest way to get to the dungeon is to just go back to Link's house.
Going to Mountain.
Is he doing the super drop from Death Mountain to Swamp?
Might be. We'll see if he drops down again.
Yep, going for the super drop. Now, what's funny is the only reason that works is the difference between how the clouds work in the Light World and Dark World. For some reason, in the Light World, the clouds are relatively empty, but in the Dark World, they're completely solid. And so it just becomes this massive wall all along the left side of Death Mountain, and when you jump off of a ledge, it tries to put Link at the next available open spot that's below him. And it just so happens that everything along the entirety of the left side of Death Mountain is solid, except for that little spot that he jumped into down at the bottom. Hacksaww, opting to open up a few chests in the back of Swamp here, finds the flute, a completely useless item for us in terms of Overworld glitch, and then of course the big key for Swamp, opting to not go back for it.
Okay, so this bracket is single elimination. With Furaime's win today, that makes him move on to round number 3, and this will unfortunately be Hacksaw's last performance in this tournament. Up ahead for Furaime is waiting for the conclusion of Mentos Man 8 in At the Boat Room. No, I need to double check that score.
Now, Hacksaww still needs to go over to Misery Mire and complete that dungeon, I believe. So he's got to clip over into the Mire area.
There's another little hop at the bottom over there, which is fine. A little bit less travel entering from up here.
Yeah, I think going for this clip up here is a little bit faster than going for the one down there, since you have to kind of dash in a couple of weird ways, considering all the debris that's in your way.
Yep, Hacksaww was already in the basement here, so he already has everything he needs for this dungeon. And having Lamp with them will be a lot easier. This dungeon has probably the trickiest set of dark rooms in terms of trying to get everything figured out, as well as trying to navigate past some spike traps and around a hole, contention hole at least.
The only other dark rooms that I can think of that are harder are actually the Aghanim Tower dark rooms, but we hardly ever see that out of anybody. I think Zero Rush did one earlier this tournament, though.
Yep, and then Aghanim, it's like... At least in Aghanim's Tower, there's some torches you can light. And that's about it.
Right, and those torches do help a lot, which means it's a lot easier to go through them when you've got the fire rod. Here you have no such luxury. No, you don't need to hit the switch. I think that was just a little bit of muscle memory in placing down that block.
You just need one for good luck. And having Silver Arrow, we'll have a slightly faster fight than Furaime was able to do. Just like that, Hacksaww has gotten his final crystal, Aghanim 2 is down. And that's requirements to make Phase 4 again invulnerable. So even though it looks like going up to the top part of Ganon's Tower might be useless, it is required to make Ganon invulnerable, and is also the only way that you're going to have that hole in the pyramid so you can drop it to Ganon. Option to run over to this portal since it's the closest one to Ganon.
And probably wants to keep all his hearts completely filled, since the saving put to Link's house would deplete about half of them.
Yep, and even with that red mail, hugging Ganon still hurts pretty bad.
I think it's still 3 hearts, maybe 4.
We'll see a little bit less damage from the bats, but not much else in terms of safety in that fight. I don't think he has any green or blue potions, so it's like, well, it's nice to be able to become invulnerable during the first couple phases of the game. You still need that magic so you can make him vulnerable during the last phase.
Now, unfortunately, the spins for the gold sword don't do any extra damage to really anything. I think there's only 2 enemies that actually check for or actually have a difference in the damage between a gold slash and a gold spin.
I didn't even know about that one. Basically, how the game treats spins, like, it doesn't say, here's your damage times 2. It just basically temporarily gives you an upgrade or a downgrade of the previous sword.
He could have gotten a 3rd arrow hit in there, I think. I saw again and turned blue for just a little bit before warping away. But nonetheless, finishes it up pretty quickly.
And finishes with an SRTV time of 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 43 seconds. So the only major thing that he lost that time to was forgetting about that entrance to Dark World from Turtle Rock entrance area. And then that was his major time sink at all. And after that, he blazed through the rest of the sea pretty well.
I think there was him saving quitting out of Maya rather than deciding to go through the dark rooms, but that is only maybe a couple of minutes out of the way for him on the return trip.
Yeah.
So.
Because he did try to do the dark rooms twice and died. That's just one tough dark room to do.
Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of time for an interview because the Zelda 1 randomizer is up next here and will be starting in just a few moments.
Boo.
Sorry, Hacksaww.
It's all good. I took way too long. I just want to say thanks everybody involved in the tournament. This was fun. Thanks you guys for commentating. Thanks to the Restream. Thanks Feasel, Speed Gaming, everybody involved. Don't forget the trackers too. They never get any love.
Thanks, Reg.
Alright, and just like that, we do need to hand it over. So stick around for the future matches of this. Hopefully we get to see some better item placements that let us shine with these glitches even more.
And hopefully see some more interesting uses, such as YBAs and mirror wraps. This time we kind of didn't get that since the mirror came so late.
Alright, yeah. Alright, all. Thanks for watching.
Catch you all later.